Yeah. Morning all. So before I start, can anyone please confirm whether my voice is clear, where the screen is visible or not? Right?
Yes, sir.
So today, like I discussed about technical set, entering into the technical subject, data types and variables.
Everything we heroes end of the day locals.
Data types, right? Yes. Every organization, right? Every organization use case, right? Has got data and operations. Every organization use case has got data and operations. Using data types or variables. Data represented using data types or variables. Operations represented using data represented using data types or variables. Operations represented using functions. Data represented using data types or variables, operations represented using functions. For example, if we take the example of any organization like bank, take the example of a bank. Bank consists of both customers and employees. Customers and employees. Data. So here customers have got data and operations. Data means like customer name like Ajay, account number 30987640, customer name, account number, balance, branch. Operations, right? Operations like deposit operation, withdraw operation, transfer operation. So this operations represented using functions, and data like these things represented using data types or variables. Data types and variables. Data represented using data types and variables. Operations using functions. Okay. Similarly, employees. For employees also we have got data and operations. Data means like employee ID, employee name, salary, some 90s. So this data are using data types or variables. Data types are variables. And operations like calculating tax, calculating HRA, calculating net sal, all this, right? These are operations represented using functions. Related to functions we'll discuss later. But now what data types are variables? Data types are variables represents the type of data to be used. The type of data to be used, right? Yes. Yes, okay. Data types are variables, data types and variables, right? And functions. Okay. Now, to make it, okay. If we compare, right? C++, Java with Python. Python supports dynamic data types, right? Python supports dynamic data types. C++, Java, Python. Python supports dynamic data types. Here, in other programming languages like C++, Java, if you want to define a variable like x as 10, compulsorily you need to define like int x, y equal to 4.5 as float, y equal to 4.5. HELLO, right? Okay. Comparing C++, Java with Python, Python supports dynamic data types. So if in other programming, if you want to define X, Y, and Z, three variables as 10, 4.5, and hello, right? Compulsory, we need to define this int or float or string. Int or float or string, right? But in Python, directly we can, no need to define this int, float, or string. Directly we say X as 10, Y as 4.5, Z as hello, right? X as 10, Y as 4.5, and Z as hello, right? Yes. What kind of variable X is here? Here, what kind of variable X is? What kind of variable X is means based on this data type defining, we are saying it as integer. What kind of variable Y is based on the data type defining, we are saying it as float. Based on the data type defining, we are saying it as string. But here, what kind of variable X is means what value you are assigning to it. If you are assigning integer value, integer type. If you are assigning a float value, it is float type. If you are assigning a string value, it is string type. So what kind of variable it is depends upon what value you are assigning. If you're assigning integer value, X is an integer variable created dynamically during runtime. Y equal to 4.5 means a float value. Y equal to 4.5, right? Float value means float. Z equal to hello, a string value you have assigned, so string variable is going to get created. That's why we call dynamic data types. Based upon what value you are assigning, based on that, the variable is going to get created dynamically. So here in Python, we have got a function called type function. Type of X is what type? Int type. Why int? Because you assigned a integer value. Type of Y is what type? Float. Why it is float? Because you assigned a float value.
Sir, how to define double value then?
Type of Z, we have float only. In Python, we have got only float.
Okay.
Type of Z is what? String. So type, there is a function, type function, right? Type of X is int. So based upon what variable you are assigning, the type, right? Integer variable, float variable, string variable. To discuss more on this and to make you understand about these variables defining, right? I'm going to discuss 4 cases here. How exactly the variables are defined, how to print their value, how to print their address, and memory allocation, right? Case one, right? Yes. Defining a variable, right? Defining a variable. Whenever you say X equal to 10, whenever we say X as 10, right? Internally, one object gets created with value 10. Observe carefully, right? An object with value 10, it's going to occupy some physical memory location, right? Address. It is going to occupy some address. Assume this is the address. This address is given to X. Now, what X is storing, what X stores? Don't say like X storing 10. X stores the address. X stores this address. When 3 things you need to understand here. Whenever I say print X, whenever you say print X means it goes to this address and prints whatever content present at that address. Print X means it goes to this address and prints the content at this address. Print X means prints the content at that address. Observe this, prints the content at that address. Prints the content at that address means what is that content? 10. Whenever you say print X, it goes to this address and prints the content whatever present at that address, right? Yes. And if I say print ID of X, print ID of X means prints the address of X. Prints the address of X. Address of X means what? 10307. Observe here. Whenever you define some variable in Python X equal to 10, internally one object with value 10 is created with some address, which occupies some address. The address is given to X. Whenever you say print X, it prints the content at that address. It goes to this address and prints the content whatever there is. If you want to print the address, Python has given one more function, ID. ID of which variable? X. ID of X means prints the address of X. Print type of X. If you want to print the type of variable, prints the data type of X. Data type of X is what? Data type of X is integer, because as you have assigned the integer to X, integer variable creates. If you assign float type will be float. If you assign a string value. Now observe this case 2. This case 1. Print X, printing the content, printing the address, printing the time. These 3 things you need to understand, right? Whenever you define variable, how to print its content, how to print its address, how to print its type. Three things. I'll show you all these things practically, right? Yes. Okay. That is case one. Now try to answer it. I want responses from you. I want interaction from you. So you can unmute yourself and give your responses through voice, or you can type your response in the chat panel, right? Case two. I want the sessions to be interactive from here on. Case two. Whenever I define like x as 10, y as 20, try to answer how many objects will be created? For 10, one object. For 20, one more object. It is going to have some address. One 103070. It is going to have its address. This address is given to x. This address is given to y. X as 10, y as 20. X as 10, y as 20, right? So two different variables with two different values, then two different objects with two different addresses, right? Now try to answer everyone. What is print x? What is print x?
10.
10 prints the content, right? Print x means it goes to this address and prints whatever content is that address. Just the content of x. Try to say ID. I want to print the address ID of x.
103070.
103070. And if you want to print the type of the variable, type of x, what type?
Integer.
Integer. Integer, right? So printing the content, printing the address, printing the type. Now print y.
20.
20. If I want to print the address ID of y is
104080.
Type, data type of y is what type?
Integer.
Integer. So understand here, if two different variables with two different values, then two different objects, two different addresses. Case two. If the values are different, different objects, different addresses, printing their contents, address, and types. Now, case three. I'll show you these things practically, right? Case 1, 2, 3, and 4. Observe this case 3 now. Case 3. X value is 10. Y is 10. How many objects will be created, right? Everyone try to answer. How many objects?
2.
Everyone. Observe carefully. Here, only one object gets created. Only one object gets created with some address. That address given to X, it's fine. But before you create object for Y, it checks any object with value 10 is already available. If available, the same address will be given. It means X equal to 10, Y equal to 10. If even Z equal to 10 means, don't think three objects with value 10 will be created in the memory. No, only one, and its address will be given to X, Y, Z. If X value 10, Y value 20, Z value 30, how many objects?
3.
3. 10, 20, 30 means 3. But if it is 10, 10, 10, 10, only one object. A value 10, B value 10, C value 10, D value 10. For all the 4, only one object, not 4 objects. There is no duplication of the objects, right? So here I can say X, Y, and Z, they are sharing the same content to 10. They are sharing the same address, 103070, right? Can I say like print X equal to print Y equal to print Z? What is the value?
10.
10.
10.
Similarly, the address print ID of X, ID of Y, and ID of Z addresses.
132, 13,
103070. Understood this case 3, right? So the values are all that XYZ values are same, XYZ addresses are same.
So let's say we are changing the value of the y, that is 20. So then in this case, does it override the existing value or it will create new address for that?
Yes, good query. So observe this, the query asked. X is 10, Y is 10. One object with value 10, right? For the same address. Now, if you are modifying Y equal to 20, Y equal to 20 means it creates a new object with value 20 and this 104090. This address is given to Y. Now Y is pointing to the new object. Y is not pointing to this. Now Y is not pointing to 10 now. Y is pointing to 20 now. Previously Y was pointing to 10. Now Y value modify means Y can point only to one object. Y will point only to one object. Y can store only one address. Two addresses can't be stored. It cannot point to two objects. Now X is pointing to 10, Y is pointing to 20. Print X means 10, print Y means 20. Address of X means 103070. Type of object means 104090. Right?
Okay.
This is case 3. Now observe this case 4. Case 4, try to answer this case 4. Here X value is 10, same whatever query you asked. Whatever query you asked, right? X value is 10, X value is 20. How many objects will be created here?
2, sir.
2. For 10, one object and its address. For 20, one more object. This is fine. So yes, X equal 10, X equal 20, okay. If I say print X, what is the X value it is going to print? 10 or 20 or both?
20.
Both. What is that?
20, sir.
Yes, always the latest value will be printed. Your salary last year 50,000, your salary this year 80,000. Print salary means latest salary, right? The same way X value is 10, X value is 20. The latest X value 20 it prints. ID of X. ID of X is 104090, right? That is fine. But what happens to this previous object 10? What happens to the previous object 10? Is there any possibility of printing the value 10? Can I print that value 10? What happens to this object? Whether it is available, not available? If available, how to print its value? But if I say print X, always it prints 20, right? To understand what happened to the previous object 10, you need to understand a concept called garbage collector. It's too early to discuss this concept, garbage collector, but just I'll give overview of it, what is garbage collector. But later, as part of our course, we'll be discussing in brief about this garbage collector in classes and objects concept, right? So to make you understand about this garbage collector and to make you understand what happens to the previous object 10, go back to this case 3. Case 3, this is case 3, right? Garbage collector. What is the work of garbage collector is removes. Garbage collector removes unused or unreferred objects. Removes unused or unreferred objects from the memory. Removes unused or unreferred objects from the memory. What do you mean by unused or unreferred objects? What do you mean by unused or unreferred objects? Means objects whose reference count becomes 0. Those objects we call as unused or unreferred objects. Then immediately, right? Then immediately these objects gets removed from the memory. Observe here, objects whose reference count becomes 0, then immediately these objects gets removed from the memory automatically by the garbage collector. Who removes? Garbage collector. Whose reference count becomes 0, then immediately these objects gets removed from the memory automatically by the garbage collector. You may ask, what is this reference count becoming 0? And what do you mean by reference count? What do you mean by reference count means? In a simple way, reference count. Number of variables pointing to an object. Number of variables pointing to an object, right? Number of variables pointing to an object will give the reference count, or number of variables storing address of an object. Observe this. Number of variables pointing to an object or number of variables storing address of an object gives the reference count. This. See how many variables are pointing to this object 10? Yes, try to answer. How many variables are pointing to this object 10? Or how many variables storing the address of object 10? X is pointing to this object, Y is pointing to this object, Z is pointing to this object, right? So what is the reference count of this object?
Three.
Three, right? Three. Because three variables are pointing. X is pointing, Y is pointing, Z is pointing. So reference count is 3. X is storing the same address. Address of X is same. Address of Y, address of Z. 3 variables storing the same addresses. So reference count is 3. But slowly what I do, I'll modify the Y value to 20. Just now we discussed it. If I modify the Y value to 20, a new object 20 is created. A new object 20 is created with some address. A new object 20 is created with some address, right? Yes. Now, Y is pointing to the new object. Y is pointing to the new object 20. Now, Y is not pointing to this. Previously, Y was pointing. Now, Y is made to point to the new object 20. Now, reference count is 2. Reference count is 2 means X is pointing. X and Z only are pointing to this 10. X and Z only are pointing. Y is pointing to the new object. Okay, Y is pointing to the new object. Slowly, I'm modifying the Z value to 30. Slowly, you modify the Z value to 30. Okay. Okay. So now Z is pointing to the new object. Z is not pointing to this now. Z is not pointing. What is the reference count now of this object to 10?
1.
Reference count is 1 now. Only one variable X is pointing to the object to 10. Previously, 3 were pointing. Now, Y and Z, they are pointing to the different objects. Only X is pointing. Slowly, I'm modifying. Slowly, I'm modifying that X value to 50. Slowly, I'm modifying the X value to 50, right? F50. Okay. Now, X is pointing to the new object. Now, X is not pointing to this. What is the reference count now?
0.
Its reference count is 0. None of the variables are pointing to this object. Means no variables are pointing. No variables are storing its address. Unused object, unreferred object. Immediately garbage collector removes this object from the memory. Means objects whose reference count becomes 0, then immediately that object gets removed by the garbage collector automatically. What do you mean by reference count? Means number of, understood now? What is reference count? How an object reference count becomes 0 and how it is going to get removed from the memory? Yes. Everyone, have you understood this? Any queries in this?
No, sir.
Okay. Understood, right? What is reference count and how this object is removed garbage collector, right? Later we discuss in brief about this, right? Now, coming to this case 4, from this discussion, what we had from this understanding, right? Now I will go to the case 4, right? Is my voice clear to all? Once again, can anyone please confirm?
Yes, it is
Yes,
clear.
sir.
So now I was asking you if print X means always it prints 20, right? What happens to the previous object 10 I was asking? For some time, forget about that X equal to 20. For some time, you forget about X equal to 20.
Hello.
Yes. So for some time, forget about that X equal to 20. X equal to 10. We have got only X equal to 10. What is the reference count of this object to 10?
1.
Only one variable x is pointing, right? Now slowly I modified the x value to 20. I've said x equal to 20 means a new object created with value 20 with some new address. Now x is not pointing to this. X is pointing to the new object 20. What is the reference count of this object to 10?
0.
0, right? Previously it was pointing. Now x is pointing to the new object 20. Reference count is 0. Reference count is 0, right? So immediately any object reference count becoming 0, then that object is going to get removed from the memory. Immediately that object is going to get removed from the memory. Understood, right? Why it is print? What happens to the previous object means it gets removed. Now I'll show you all these 4 cases, right? Practically. So whenever we install Python, right? And if you install Python, check it in all apps where your Python is available. Otherwise, in the search, type IDLE. So whenever you go to this Python where it is installed, right? IDLE, you can see that. Click it. Click that IDLE. Python shell gets open. 3.11.3 is the version. Right. File, new file. Whenever you say file, new file, right? Okay. This one, case 1. This is comment in Python. Comment means not executable. Just for understanding, right? Case 1. Case 1, defining a variable. Defining a variable, right? Yes. X equal to 10. If I'll try to print the content X. I want to print the address, means ID of X. And I want to print the type of variable, type of X. The type of X. Print X, ID of X, type of X. I'll save it. Python 7 name, right. int1.py, any name .py extension, right? Now if I run this, run module, print X means what? 10. Address of X is the address where exactly it is true. Type of X is what type? Integer type, right? These things. Now case 2. What is case 2 here? Two different variables X and Y with two different values 10, 20. Two different objects with two different addresses. I'll just copy the same. File, new file, to write one more program code. Case 2. Defining two different variables. Two different variables with two different values. Defining two different variables with two different values. Two different variables with two different values means two different objects gets created with two different addresses. Yes. Two different variables with two different values, then two different objects. Yes, defining two different variables with two different values, two different objects gets created with two different addresses. With two different addresses, right? Now x is 10, y is 20. X is 10, y is 20. Print x, address of x, type of x. Okay. The same thing I'll copy for y also, right? Yes, print y, address of y, type of y. Now try to answer. The address of x and address of y, will it be same or different? Right?
Different.
Different, right? Because different values, different objects, different addresses. Set, run module. Try to observe. Print x means print address of x, type of x. Print y, 20, address and its time. Print x 10, its address and its time. Print y 20, address of y, type of y. Okay, understood, right? Two different values, Two different addresses, right? Yes. Now observe this case 3. Observe this case 3, right? Yes. I'm copying the same. File, new file. Two different variables with same values, right? Yes. Two different variables with same values. Then only one object gets created. Defining two different variables with same values, then only one object gets created. If the values are same, only one object, I said, right? Then only one object gets created and its address. Defining two different variables with same values, then only one object gets created and its address is returned to both. X is 10, Y also 10, right? X is 10, Y is 10. Then print X, address of X, type of X. Print X means prints. Okay, now try to answer address of X and Y. Are they same or different? Everyone.
Same address.
Address of X and address of Y has to be same, right? Because the contents are same, only one object, only one address. Right. Check it once. Run module, right? Yes. Okay, fine. 10 and 10. Same content, same address, same type. Case 4. Observe this case 4, right? File, new file. Case 4. Two different variables means defining two variables with same name. Defining two variables with same name and with different values Then two different objects. Two different objects gets created. Two different objects gets created. Then two different objects gets created. Defining two variables with same name with different values. Then two different objects gets created and the previous one gets removed, right? And the previous one gets removed. X is 10 and X is 20. X is 10, X is 20 means always X prints 20 only. Address of X means 20 address, type of X. X is 10, X is 20. Okay. Print X, address of X, type of X. So print X means always it prints 20, address means 20 address, type means integer type. Observe this. In 20 and this 20 address, integer type. Understood these 4 cases, right? Any queries in these 4 cases, anyone? How the variables are defined? How they are initialized? How to print their content, address, and their types? Any queries in these 4 cases? Okay, I got one query in this case 3. X value is 10, Y is 10. The address of X and Y are they same or different?
Address is
Address of X and Y are they same or different?
same address.
Same address, right? Now, if I say 10.0, if I say 10.0, right? 10 and 10.0, what is type of Y?
Float.
Type of Y is float object created. Type of X? Integer object is
Integer.
integer object is created. Means 2 different objects created, right? Integer object and float object. Means the address will be same or different?
Different.
Different, right?
Different.
Two different objects. One is integer object, one is float object. 2 different objects created. So here control as I said here, S got printed. Run model, check it. Yes. See this 10 and 10.0. The addresses are not same because their types in type and float types. Different types.
So what are the different data types supported by Python?
So fundamental data types, collection data types. In tomorrow's session, I'll be briefing you about all this, right?
Okay.
Fundamental data types and collection data types. Mainly 2 are there. What are the various fundamental types? What are the various collection types, right? And yes, understood, right? How exactly the variables are defined.
Yes, sir.
Fine. So tomorrow we'll discuss more on this and what are the various fundamental types, how they are defined, and various collection data types, collections, right? Yes. Mainly, if we talk about fundamental types, we have got integer, float, Boolean, string, complex. But in collections, we have got mainly like list, tuples, sets, and dictionaries mainly, right? So what do you mean by fundamental? What do you mean by collection? What type of variables we say as fundamental types? What type we say as collections, right? More discussion will discuss. Tomorrow's session will be important, right? Fundamental, what happens? Yeah. Fine. So any other queries you got?
For the characters, so are we going to declare a string only, or do we have the separate character as well? I mean, char data type.
We doesn't have separate char data type, but in strings only, string is represented by using 3 quotes in string. In Python, string is represented using single quotes, using double quotes, and using triple quotes. Strings are represented in different ways: single quote, double quote, and triple quotes, right? When to go for single, when to go for double and triple, we'll be discussing. Tomorrow session, I'll be discussing on the strings also, right? I'll be
Okay.
briefing you about the strings. But we doesn't have character data type, but we have got character CHR function is available to convert to character type. CHR. Just like print function, we have got CHR function available. Okay. So I'm stopping for now. We'll continue tomorrow, more discussion on this. So we'll meet tomorrow, same time and same link, right? So tomorrow also you can attend the session, right? Everyone you can attend, right? Same link, but from day after tomorrow, the link is going to change. Day after tomorrow, the link changes. Tomorrow, everyone can attend the session. It will be the last session. Day after tomorrow onwards, the link will be changing. You are supposed to get enrolled, right? Yes. Fine. I'm stopping now. We'll continue tomorrow, right? You follow the same link for tomorrow's session.
Thank you, sir.